phone. In any normal apartment, that wouldn't be strange. But I didn't own a landline. My smartphone was lying right next to me on the nightstand, completely silent. The sound was coming from deep within the apartment. A heavy, mechanical, metallic clanking. The unmistakable I stepped into the hallway and listened. The sound was coming from behind the one door in the apartment. I pulled on the door handle. Locked, obviously. Back in my room, I texted the landlord. Olga, sorry for the hour. There's a landline ringing inside the locked room. I had found the apartment on Avito. The price and location were ideal, so I didn't hesitate. The landlord, Olga, was a short blonde, younger than me, but professional. The second room was locked. She claimed she used it as a storage unit for old family belongings she hadn't found the time to sort through yet. The apartment itself looked exactly like the photos. Cheap floral wallpaper, mid-century chandeliers, and oilcloth on the kitchen. She passed away, but not here. Not in this bed. She was in the hospital. Olga arrived exactly at 10 a.m. the next morning. Without a word of greeting, she marched straight to the locked door. Her fingers were visibly trembling. It was a standard 12-square-meter room, crammed with junk, shoeboxes, stacks of old magazines tied with twine, a shadeless floor lamp, and a sewing machine. Its wire ran straight into the baseboard outlet. Olga walked over and ripped the cord out of the wall with a sharp, aggressive jerk. Done. It won't bother. In her haste, her hip clipped a stack of boxes. The top one crashed to the floor, shattering several porcelain saucers inside. Olga dropped to her knees, frantically. She abandoned the box, practically ran to the hallway, forced her feet into her shoes, and grabbed her bag. "But text, don't call," she stammered, slamming the front door so hard the crystal in the cabinet rattled. In her panic, she forgot to lock the room. The next night, the clanking ring woke me up again. It was impossible. I had watched her unplug the wire myself. A disconnected rotary phone physically. I pushed the door open and flipped the switch. Under the muddy yellow light of a single bulb, the phone was vibrating so hard the receiver was jumping on its cradle. To make it stop, I just had to pick it up. I lifted the receiver with 2 fingers and pressed it to my ear. "Hello," I said. "Olenka," an old, frail voice replied. A sharp chill hit the room. "Olenka, get me out of here." The voice rapidly escalated from a frail whisper into a frantic, deafening shriek. My fingers locked around the plastic. I couldn't. The receiver grew scalding hot against my ear. I forced my hand open, and the plastic smashed against the desk leg. The screaming continued from the floor. I backed out of the room on autopilot and went to the kitchen to pour a glass of water. My hands were shaking so violently, the glass chattered against my teeth. I forced myself. Then, from the darkness of the hallway, I heard a faint cough, followed by the heavy, dragging scrape of sleep. I grabbed a kitchen knife, stepped into the hallway, and flipped the lights. Nothing. I checked the bathroom and my bedroom. Empty. I told myself it was just a neighbor. It was an old building with paper-thin walls. Some old woman upstairs couldn't sleep. It was logical. Then a box fell inside the locked. I raised the knife and looked inside. The shoebox Olga had hid earlier was sitting in the middle of the room. My eyes caught a bundle of letters tied with a rubber band, about 20 of them. Every envelope was addressed to Selezneva. Every single letter was unopened. I tore one open. Olenka, hello. You should visit sometime. I'm entirely alone here. You haven't visited or called once since I arrived. I know you're busy. I opened a later one. The handwriting had completely degraded. The lines sloped downward, and at the bottom of the box was a folder containing the official admission forms for Selezneva Nina Pavlovna, born in 1940. Beneath that were medical files detailing severe dementia, followed by urgent notices from the facility requesting the family to contact them regarding the patient's deteriorating health. They had been opened, read, and filed away in the dark. At the very bottom lay a death certificate. Nina Pavlovna had died. Olga hadn't lied. Her grandmother really hadn't died in this apartment. The settlement has the piece. There you are. The lights snapped off. In the sudden pitch black, the phone rang once, then flew past my head, smashing into the wall behind me. The heavy rotary unit hit the floor, still clanking. Then something freezing touched my face. It felt like cold porcelain sliding across my cheek, a numbness that made my teeth ache. Olenka, the voice hissed directly in front of my face. The air filled with the pungent smell of old age and institutional medicine. Olenka, why didn't you act? I lunged for the door, but it slammed shut before I could reach it. I grabbed the handle, throwing my weight against it. Behind me, the floorboards groaned under the dragging steps. With every inch the entity moved closer, the room grew colder, like an open freezer. Two icy hands locked around my throat and squeezed. I thrashed, reaching up to tear them off, but my fingers closed on thin air. The pressure on my trachea was... I waited so long. The voice, the grip hesitated. The pressure eased slightly, allowing me to draw a rag. Silence. The freezing fingers lingered on my skin for a few seconds, then dissolved into nothing. By 9:15 a.m., my bags were packed and waiting by the door. I had called Olga 2 hours. I told her she could keep the security deposit. The rent was paid through the end of the month, and I had no complaints. I just needed to hand over the keys. The doorbell rang. I opened it, handed Olga the keys, and picked up my suitcases. As the door began to swing shut behind me, the heavy, familiar Olenka, there you are, finally. The lock clicked into place. I walked out of the building and into the fresh June air. My neck was burning. Dark purple bruises were... I pulled my collar up, got into the back of my cold taxi, and put my headphones on, turning the volume to the absolute maximum. I didn't want to hear another sound.